Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun, and this is our reaction and review of the first two episodes of Before. Now, if you haven't heard about this show, which is understandable given the marketing for it, this is a new show on Apple TV Plus. This is very much in the thriller slash mystery
hmm
wheelhouse that if you guys know watch this channel, you know this is what Jess and I love so much.
Absolutely. This show stars Billy Crystal and Judith Light, who I really love. And so far, I'm very excited about the show. And I don't really understand why Apple TV is not pushing the show more than it is, because these two first episodes are winners. Like, I am completely involved in the show. The theories that are coming out about this already for us were
Yeah.
just like, they're piling up. There is so much happening in this show in so many different directions that this can be taking us that it makes this show so exciting. Please, Apple TV, start pushing the show. So far, it's really great.
Yeah, I know that you guys clearly have enough money. You're pouring millions of it into disclaimer, but it's just like, can you guys give something here to Before? Like
Yeah.
I'll start by saying I have kind of an interesting relationship with Billy Crystal because I know a lot of people are very much like he is one of my rom-com kings. He's done all of these great comedies over the years, and
Yeah.
I've seen some of them, but to me, a lot of my relationship with him is he's kind of Mr. Hollywood in my eyes because he's always hosted the Oscars so many times. He's
Yep.
kind of one of the first people I think of. So I kind of just always feel like he's this, genial, really impassioned guy talking about show business. And to have him in this role as this child psychologist named Eli in this very dark and sort of twisted world, like I'm so fascinated about it just because I've never seen him do anything close to this.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of when Robin Williams was first starting to do more serious stuff with
Mhm.
like Good Will Hunting or 1 Hour Photo. The first time I saw him in that, I was like, oh my goodness. Like
Yeah.
it's not that Billy Crystal hasn't ever done any more dramatic roles, but he is known as sort of this rom-com king of Hollywood in that way, like you described him. So I haven't seen Billy Crystal in anything in a while, so to see him then come out with this thriller where he's in such a serious role, he's playing it beautifully.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this show, and I really do hope that people will give it a chance, that they'll find it.
Yeah, because it's bringing a lot to the table here. We're going to get into everything, of course, that is working through
Mhm.
these first two episodes. And as Jess said, there's a lot to theorize and sort of speculate about. And that's going to be a great time
Yeah.
for us, pretty much, as long as this show keeps going and however long they decide to sort of string us along before revealing any answers. But
Mhm.
before we go further, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are going to be here throughout all of Before this season on Apple TV Plus. We don't want you guys to miss any of those updates.
Absolutely. And if you want further videos from us, you can join our Patreon. We're currently covering The Penguin
Mhm.
exclusively over there. And we are going to be covering Landman, which is going to be coming up in November, and Doom Prophecy also coming up in November. And they're only going to be over at our Patreon. So we'll leave a link for you below to be able to join. It helps support
Mhm.
Matt and I here at the channel.
Thank you guys so much. And I'll say from the start, one of the things I like the most about this show is it's not trying to do too much. This is
Mhm.
not one of those programs that feels like we need a 20-person cast. We need to
Mhm.
introduce all of them within the first 10 minutes. I mean, really, you've got, I don't know, I would say a core of 3 or 4 people that are sort of at the center of this, and we really
Yeah.
get time to get to know all of them.
Yeah, and we have a it's seemingly more simple story, which is that we've got Billy Crystal playing Eli.
Mhm.
He is a widower who has lost his wife, and he is sort of trying to trek through this loss and to be able to kind of move forward. He is also, like you said, a child psychologist, but he's been kind of moving back away from kind of everything after the loss of his wife.
And then out of nowhere, here comes Noah, this very young kid who's really well acted, I think, for a young kid
Great.
performer.
Yeah,
It's
he's good.
kids are either really good or really bad on shows, and they can take you completely out of it. But this kid, he is innocent enough that you want to see him succeed in life, and you want to see Eli help him? Just like, I want to see on some level Noah also help Eli, but there is just a tinge of creepiness here with this kid that is much needed, including how did he find Eli in the first place? And why is there some sort of mysterious connection between these two where, in true TV show serendipitous fashion, not too long after Noah first shows up on Eli's door, Eli is then recommended Noah as a patient?
Yes. So we have this connection here where it seems like Noah is able to see things. He's
Mhm.
having what seems like visions, but he's a really young kid, like he's maybe 8 or 9 or something, and he doesn't really understand what he's seeing. And what he seems to keep seeing is something that feels like it's connected to water, which is how Eli's wife has died in the bathtub by her own hand.
Mhm.
Seemingly. We'll
Yeah.
get into all of that. But Noah has come to Eli's house. Now he's this patient of Eli, and this connection of water is something that, of course, is a connection to Eli as well because of what happened to Lynn, his wife. But he's also having dreams about it as well. He keeps seeing his wife. He's having dreams about this pool and, water as well, where then you've got Noah who's also just seeing like water, shadows of water coming down the wall, what looks like an eel tail. At first I was kind of like, are these tentacles? They're
Yeah.
not, but it looks more like an Eli,
Uh,
sort of wrapping around people where Noah is acting out, where he in his mind thinks he's saving people, but really he's hurting people. And that's how he's ended up with Eli to try to like figure out like why is he, attacking people. And because he's unable to really talk for the first part of it, he's unable to really describe what's going on and why this is happening.
Yeah, and at first, for a brief period of time, he's speaking Dutch, and
Yeah.
this leads to Eli trying to figure all of that out, which was pretty clever how they did it and
Mhm.
very suitable for modern day audiences where we have all these apps where you can detect
Yes.
languages. But that is a mystery in itself. How does Noah know this language? Why does Noah continue to draw this mysterious farmhouse that's sort of showing up in a lot of the different drawings that he's doing? So Noah clearly has some sort of creative outlet that's trying to share some sort of message that he's not able to share verbally. He's got all of these
Mhm.
connections to water. The graphics on the water running down the walls, by the way, was really, really cool
Yeah.
and kind of creepy how they did that. But, he's got somebody who's, at his foster home here, Denise, who Eli has talked to, and she's been able to shed a little bit of light as to what's going on here. But nobody seems to have known Noah for long enough to really kind of trace out what his full story is.
That farmhouse is very obviously going to play out throughout the show. This
Yeah.
is a picture that Eli has had on his fridge since his wife has been alive, that he found somewhere. He can't remember where. On the back of it are like the initials. I think it's BW, and he doesn't really know much about this photo. But then you have Noah who's creating all these like chalk arts, and this farmhouse is somehow incorporated into every single one of them. So, I mean, Eli and Noah are very connected. It's just how is they, what is the connection? How are they connected?
This is where, to me, the show is either going to get really, really fun or potentially fall on its face. Anytime that you have a show that's this ambitious with the story they're trying to tell, where there's
Yeah.
like this strange of a mystery, there's a lot of different ways that it could play out. But
Yeah, because it feels like there could actually be some sort of supernatural element here where you do have him speaking another language, you do have him having these visions. It's possible that that is where the show is going, that maybe there's some sort of, possession, or he can see into the future, or he can see into the past. We don't know if that's where it's going yet, but that is definitely one of the directions it could be going.
one thing in general that's going to matter a lot, and this is where I will admit I'm not sure exactly what it means yet. The title here has to be important before,
Mhm.
something that happened in the past, something that potentially links all of them, because just on the surface, let's be honest, before is not a good title for a show. It's sort of like from, not a good title for a show. Why are people naming their shows after prepositions? I can't wait till we create a new show until, and that is going to be what we're going to have. No, but
I agree. The name of this show is not good. It's not, great for people searching for this show. They're
yeah,
never going to really find it. Like it's a difficult name for a pretty good show so far.
yeah, I'm hoping that there's some sort of larger reason for it. We'll find out in due time. But okay, get your tinfoil hats at the ready here because we're going to try to get into
Okay.
some theories.
All right,
All right.
let's get on. So, what do you think is happening here?
Okay. Here's what I think is happening here, but I'm going to couch this. I'm going to jump on my big couch and say, I don't really want this to be what happens, but this is what came to my mind while I was watching it, which is that Eli is responsible for the death of his wife, and he is sort of seeing all this playing out because he's struggling to deal with his trauma. And I'm not saying that, Noah is not real. I'm not going that far with it, but I think we're seeing a lot of things from complicated points of view.
Mhm.
I think it's really possible that some things in particular that we're seeing between Noah and Eli are different to him versus what everybody else is seeing. Like a great example of this is the angry game that we see at the end of episode 2, where Noah basically says to him, "You know what you did."
Mhm.
Nobody else is in the room for that scene. So there's no actual truth behind the idea that Noah could be saying this. He may not be saying it at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke
Mhm.
on the idea that Eli did this.
Yeah.
So he is at the bar talking to someone and he mentions sort of like, "Oh, maybe I'm disassociating. Ha ha ha. I'm not really. I'm fine." It's kind of like, "Okay, we just saw this play out. Spoiler alert. I'm presumed innocent a while back now, where it was sort of the same thing where, there was a killer who did this crime and then disassociated from it. And that could be happening here as well. And that she's haunting him, and that's sort of what's going on because there's also like Lynn says to him in this vision while he's like writhing on the floor in blood, "Eli, what have you done?"
Yeah.
Like, and then we have like these roses in the backyard that they keep focusing on where Eli's back there planting these roses. Is Lynn under the roses? Maybe. Is she up at this cabin? And that's what happened, that maybe it didn't happen at the house and it actually happened at this cabin and there's water up there. It's possible as well. Like, it's just there's so many already clues that are linking it to Eli did this that I'm kind of like, please don't make this be what actually happened. Because
No.
if they're taking me down this road and they're giving me this many clues early on, maybe this is the reason Apple's not promoting the show, where it's a good show, but the landing is going to be like, wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, it's not an exciting twist at this point, and maybe we've all just leveled up too much as television viewers, where we've
Right.
all become too jaded. We've seen too many things that because of this, we're able to detect the most obvious answer almost a mile away. I mean, even when you think about the idea that, okay, there's a little bit of a nosebleed situation going on with both
Hmm.
Noah as well as Lynn near the end of episode 2, can
Hmm.
you sort of argue that, all right, there's some sort of intrinsic connection with Noah and Lynn, that when Eli is seeing Noah, he's thinking back about Lynn. Like, I mean, there could be some crazy theories that go on that maybe somehow Noah and Lynn are related, or they have some sort of history that Eli or maybe even Lynn did not know about, because we don't really know a lot about Lynn. We don't know a lot about her backstory. Like, there's chances to sort of sprinkle in a lot of these little things to make the connection make sense. It's just, yeah, I don't want this to be the twist because it is too obvious. And yet at the same time, it was the first thing I thought about when I saw the show. I was like, okay, guys, like, come on, there's a lot of evidence here.
Yeah, there is a lot. Like, I do think that that could be where the show is going. But my tinfoil hat is
Okay.
that it's not Lynn that's dead and it's Eli that's dead. And
Oh,
there's some smoke there, but I mean, it's going to be complicated, but if they do it right, it could really play out. And, we've seen this type of story before in The Sixth Sense, but that doesn't mean that they're the only
Yeah.
movie that can ever do this type of a plot. And there might be, there's some other elements that are a little bit different here. We have seen Eli speak to a bunch of different people, but that doesn't mean that this isn't something that's still playing out in his head. Like maybe he's in some sort of purgatory or hasn't been able to completely move forward yet. And that's why Noah has some connections where he is able to see things in the past, maybe in the future as well. We don't know yet,
Yeah.
but that he has been able to see things in the past. He is seeing the water, and maybe Noah isn't really able to figure out what those connections are yet. And maybe this isn't necessarily Eli's story or Lynn's story, but it's Noah's story and how he's connected to whatever has happened. Because here's the thing, like, we've been seeing Eli and this pool, and the tile on the pool is the same tile that's in the bathroom where Lynn died, if that's the case,
Yeah.
right? So then where is like this connection? Because Eli's also seeing visions of himself dying. So if he's seeing himself dying, then maybe he is the person who has died. And with the eels and the Eli, with that connection kind
Yeah.
of thing, like maybe that's what Noah is seeing. It's a loose theory, but there's a little bit of smoke on the idea that it's Eli that's actually dead. And maybe either Lynn's responsible or Lynn's the person who's still there. And maybe that's the person that Noah's been talking to all this time. I mean, Judith Light is also not like a nobody star, right? So you're going to have her come on for like just a couple of little background things where she's going to say one or two things an episode. It's kind of like what's going on in Grotesquerie.
I was thinking that too while you were saying that.
Courtney B. Vance,
Yeah.
spoilers for people who, haven't seen it. Courtney B. Vance is such a huge star. And for the first while, he's barely in it. And he's just like, oh, he's playing this guy in a coma. It's like, why is this huge star
Yeah.
barely on this show? And I won't give away why or what's going on, but it kind of is giving me that same feeling where it's kind of like Judith Light isn't a nobody. So why is she this kind of smaller background player in this? There has to be a bigger role for her.
Yeah, and I'm really hopeful that there is going to be. But yeah, I was totally thinking of Grotesquerie as well while you were talking through that. I like your theory better because it's more interesting. It's more creative. I want this show to be creative. I want this to be, one of those great mysteries where once it's all over, we go back, we watch the episodes, things like the tiles you mentioned, maybe the eel. There's like little clues that maybe we all didn't pick up on, but everything is very, very intentional. Now,
that's the thing about Grotesquerie. It
Yeah.
has really raised the bar. If you're not watching the show,
Yeah.
you should be watching the show. They really raised the bar in having things in the background that are definite clues. And if you're not watching out for them, you are never going to get it. And this show has that same sort of potential. It's definitely raised things for me now coming out of those episodes that I'm now going into other shows looking for everything.
This brings me to, here's the craziest theory that I have that I literally just came up with
Okay.
like 5 minutes ago.
All right, let's go.
Okay. What if Noah is actually a past version of Eli that Eli no longer recognizes because of everything that has happened to him? And with that, he's basically talking to his former self, his before self, who is trying to tell him about things that have happened. And maybe you know what you did. Yeah, sure, that could be like, oh, you murdered Lynn, but it could also just be like, you know what you did that caused Lynn to be murdered. It could just be a manifestation of his guilt, that there's something different that he could have done, and that maybe this is all Noah is meant to be. But once again, Noah could actually still be a real person, and he's just having some sort of break where he's seeing something a little bit different out of the kid.
Yeah, this is where it could also just be that there is none of these other theories
Yeah.
that we're talking about, and that it really is what it looks like, that Lynn did this, and then we've got Eli over here dealing with his guilt, and that's why he's seeing himself dying instead, or, in the blood, and having Noah, maybe Noah's not actually saying these things like, I know what you did, but it's in his own head of like, oh man, I could have done more. I could have saved her. I could have seen the signs. I'm a psychologist. I couldn't see this coming. Like, how could I let this happen? And it's really about him diving into his own mind of guilt and regret and loss, and that he's just unable to really see that maybe it was preventable. Maybe it wasn't, but maybe it
Mhm.
was. And that's the path he's on. And then you've got Noah that may or may not be seeing things, but maybe Eli thinks that he is, and it's just helping him on his own path to figuring out what happened.
All right, now that we've gone through all the theories, it's time to shout out the true MVP of the first two episodes of Before,
Judith Light.
Eli's pug. Listen,
All
I
right.
love pugs. My grandmother used to
I
have them.
know
One of
you
my
do.
favorite college professors, he and his partner had a couple of pugs. This is the most realistic portrayal of pugs in the history of media, complete with the noises that they make a lot of the time. I have never been around a pug that did not constantly sound like he had just like gone to the convenience store and picked up a pack and had just, had some fun with Joe Camel before coming inside. That is just all I have to say. I love pugs so much.
I have never been around a pug, so I didn't know that they sound like I just picked up a pack.
See, it's true. Look, if you have pugs in the comments, let us know. But I love that pug so much. I would run through a wall for the pug on Before through these first two episodes.
All right. The pug Larry, he's an MVP.
Yeah, I really like this show though. It does a great job of just establishing this world within these first couple of episodes, giving you a lot of mystery and kind
Yeah.
of making you wonder, okay, what am I seeing? Why am I seeing it? Like this has all of the foundation of a really great show. Let's hope number one, like you've said, Apple sticks the landing, and number two,
Yeah.
people actually become aware enough of it to watch it. So this is on all of us. Tell your friends, bug your coworkers, do whatever you do. Call people up and be like, you got to be watching this show.
As we will be doing right after this video. I'm be calling my dad being like, you looking for a new thriller? This is it. Because while there are lots of thrillers and horrors and all kinds of great stuff that is coming up for November and December, I mean, Dexter's coming
Yeah.
up still.
I know.
This show is such a special gem
Yeah.
that I'm really worried that people are not going to find it. Even with Billy Crystal in the lead, that people are just not going to find it. Apple TV is pouring so much time into
I
disclaimer.
know.
Like everything is about disclaimer. They have Silo coming up in a few weeks, which is a huge hit for them. It's a
Yes.
show that we love. We'll be covering again here at the channel. They have barely a whisper of this show, like a little bit about this show. I'm like, guys, you are just a couple weeks out.
I know. And we've even, we've been telling people that we're covering this show, and we've had multiple comments of people just be like, I've never heard of it. And
Right.
it's just, it's frustrating. And I know this is a part of the streaming era where just there's so much content. It's hard to really hone it down, but I hope people find this show. They really like it. I hope they continue to give us reasons to like it. But for now, hit that subscribe button so that you guys can be here with us through the rest of this show and let us know all your thoughts and theories. And you can support us further by joining our Patreon.
Mhm.
We've got that link in the description below. Like Jess said, right now, we are in the midst of covering exclusively The Penguin
Mhm.
over there. But moving forward in the next month, we'll be covering exclusively Landman on Paramount Plus, and then also Dune Prophecy, which is on HBO and Max. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you here next time.